lucha? You want lucha? You want lucha? You want lucha? I've got lucha for you!
Welcome to Back to the Temple, the Lucha Underground Rewatch podcast. I'm Adam from FWCI, your host, and joining me is my co-host, and he's about to do the greatest intro in all of podcast history. It's my co-host, Malik.
Hi guys.
Malik, god damn it, motherfucker, you're letting me down.
I'm sorry for disappointing you, man. Every episode I disappoint.
No, I hyped you up so much. The people were on the edge of their seats when you do your intro and you give us a, hey everybody.
Well, they should have lowered their expectations for me.
Well, lowering expectations is not usually something I have to do with Lucha Underground because this show is absolutely awesome. So this is the podcast where every week we go through a different episode of Lucha Underground and we talk about the episode. I've seen it a bunch of times. Malik's never seen it before. We have both perspectives of it. We talk about all the wrestlers. We do some fun segments at the end where we fantasy book some wrestlers into the Lucha Underground world, and we talk about what's going on with some of the Lucha Underground superstars, or not superstars, that makes me sound like a WWE show, Lucha Underground luchadors, that's the word I need, and what they're up to in 2022. So, Malik, episode 3 is called, what was the goddamn name of this one? Los Demonios was last one. This one's called Cross the Border. And we got the introduction of probably the three, not the three, but three of the best luchadors that we get in Lucha Underground. We had Phoenix, Pentagon, and Drago. Did you enjoy the main event of this show?
That's the main event, my favorite match of the entire series, and I'm really biased because Phoenix and Penta are my guys. They're probably my favorite tag team in the world right now. I've been watching a lot of AEW. That's the main show that I watch. So I'm pretty biased for Phoenix and Penta. Never seen Drago before, but he's also become one of my favorites. We'll definitely get into it deeper when we get into the match breakdown of the main event, but holy crap, dude, this episode was off the chain.
Yeah, it's pretty wild getting all three of these guys debuting in the same show and in the same match as well. Like, I honestly feel like this could have really been like episode 1 of Lucha Underground. Even if you didn't have the context of the last 2 episodes, like it'd be one of those TV shows where it kind of just drops you in the middle of a bunch of like stories that are already happening kind of thing. But this was really the first episode that felt really authentically Lucha Underground, and knowing what we've got in store, this is the kind of Lucha Underground that was that I was coming back for more every single week when it first aired.
Yeah, especially with all the wrestlers coming in, like it is getting really entertaining to watch this show, and this is the episode where it really starts to heat up, and you can tell things are going from 100 to 1,000% with this show. Like, I'm booking all these dream matches in my mind now with, Phoenix and Penta in and Drago, and with the roster we already have, it's a really exciting moment in the show.
Well, as you can probably already tell, they're not shy about booking their dream matches so far. There's a lot of dream matches we get in this show, and as season 2 and 3 roll around, you're going to start to see some names that you're way more familiar with from other stuff as well. So dream match is definitely the right way to put it. And I feel like this is like top 3 Lucha Underground matches of all time, largely just because of the historic nature of it with the debut of all these 3. But what I wanted to quickly touch on is with Pentagon Jr., as he's called here. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but Pentagon's kind of gone through a bit of a issue with rights to his name and stuff like that. So I think officially now he's called Penta L0M, which is obviously the El Zero Miedo, no fear is his catchphrase, but I've never really liked that name for him, but I feel like Pentagon Jr. really sounds cool. And I remember that there was a Japanese wrestler. He might have been a luchador. He kind of was. I think I've seen him in Japan and in Mexico, so I don't know where he's from originally. But he kind of looks like a bit of a ninja. He's got like this black outfit, red headband. There's a white mark. There's like white design on the mask, and his name was Octagon. And he was just like one of those dudes that I think it was like a mantle where different people played Octagon. So. And then there was Octagon Jr., I remember as well. So I went and had a look into why is Pentagon Jr.? Like, is this a mantle, like, title where there's different Pentagons, or is this something that, is just been created for this show or whatever like that? And there have been a whole bunch of Pentagons so far. So, in regards to Lucha Libre and stuff like that, are you aware of these, that there's so much, like, lineage in the world of Lucha Libre?
Nah, I don't know anything about what the name Pentagon means in Lucha Libre. I've always seen it as just, like, a really cool name. And I'll agree with you, Penta Sierra Miedo is not the best name for him. Doesn't roll off the tongue. Pentagon Jr. is a really, like, mysterious, ominous name, and I maybe just myself, but I don't know anything about the name Pentagon, so that name is just more mysterious to me, and it's a really cool name for him. So I really want to know, like, what the backstory of that was, and the ancestors of that name before him.
Well, it goes back to the mid-90s. So there was a wrestler in AAA, as I mentioned earlier, called Octagon. And the AAA owner, Antonio Pena, decided to use the evil twin idea and brought in a guy called Jesus Andrade, who used to be known as Espanto Jr., and just named him Pentagon to be the nemesis for Octagon, who was getting very, very popular at the time. Think of it in the same way of you've got The Undertaker and then Kane shows up. Kane didn't just show up to like, and just have a bunch of matches and then later on they're like, hey, he's The Undertaker's brother. Like, the whole point of Kane's debut was like to come after The Undertaker. It was like a ready built-in kind of feud. That's what they were trying to do with Octagon and Pentagon.
Yeah, so it was kind of like a yin and yang kind of feud.
Yeah, it's like, think old, like, kung fu movies and stuff like that, like Darkness and Light. It was very symbolic and, kind of, I can't think of the word right now, but it's that kind of thing where it's just all symbolism and stuff like that.
I hope there was a triple threat match with a hexagon.
We need to get dodecahedron in there as well.
Yeah.
But these guys bounced around with like Rey Mysterio and, La Parka and Eddie and, all those guys throughout the 90s. So 1996 rolls around and Andrade retires, the guy who was playing him. And Pena decided to put somebody else under the mask and just have him keep working as Pentagon. So that's when it became the mantle. So this guy is known as Pentagon 2 or Pentagon Black. His name is what was his name? Jose Mercado. Jose Mercado Lopez is this fellow's name. And he just kind of took on the mantle for 4 years until 2000. Then it was taken on by Pentagon 3, which was a wrestler named Ricardo Marino Antonio, a 15-year veteran who had worked at a whole bunch of other stuff. We then got Pentagon Viper, which is a brief character used in the Japanese promotion 01 by either Pentagon Black or Kazuhiko Masada. The character was a generic masked bad guy who wore a mask outfit similar to Pentagon's character with minor modifications. So it's basically Pentagon from Wish is Pentagon Viper. Then we get, and this kind of ties into this week's episode as well, we get Pentagoncito 1 and Pentagoncito 2 and Pentagoncito Black. What is Pentagoncito, you ask? Well, that's one of the minis that would wrestle over in Mexico. The little guys, the midget wrestling, the dwarves, like whatever word we're supposed to use these days. There was a mini Pentagon.
Was it the same character?
They look exactly the same. So we had on the show this week Masquerada Sagrada. I'm pretty sure there's a Masquerada Sagrada, which means like whatever it means, but Masquerada is like the smaller version. So Pentagon and Pentagoncito 1 and 2, we have mini versions of Pentagon, which is crazy, and Pentagoncito Black. Of course, you need the heel. And the last two on the list are Lady Pentagon, which now I'm just getting vibes of like Deadpool, like Lady Pool, Dog Pool, Venom Pool, everybody's Deadpool. Apparently somebody called La Amapola played the role of Lady Pentagon in AAA, related with a rumored induction of Lady Octagon, but the character was extremely short-lived and only seen in videos and vignettes. So we never really got Lady Pentagon, which sucks because, I don't know, that sounds awesome to me. And then lastly is Pentagon Jr. So here's the story of how Pentagon got his name. In 2012, AAA introduced the next generation Octagon, which is Samurai del Sol, which is Kalisto from WWE.
I've never seen anything of Kalisto, to be honest. I'm not too sure about anything from him.
So Kalisto, before Rey Mysterio returned, Kalisto was basically the closest thing WWE had to a Rey Mysterio.
And was this like late 90s or early 2000s?
No, Kalisto's brand new. He's been around for about the last 8 years, I guess. He just got fired like everybody else has been, but
not surprising.
Yeah, Samurai del Sol was his indie name, and yeah, he was brought in as the new Octagon, which that's kind of crazy because Octagon again was a huge, massive, name, a huge deal. It's like bringing somebody in as the new Kane or the new Undertaker. But then obviously you can't have Octagon without the evil Pentagon, and it says they introduce a repackaged Dark Dragon as Pentagon Jr., so I guess he was going by Dark Dragon before that, but that's how Pentagon Jr. got his name, which is a kind of a crazy story. I love how rooted it is in like Lucha Libre history.
Lucha Libre is batshit. This is the most insane chronology I've ever heard for a name, but it is so fucking cool. I love it. It's like as complicated as a Final Fantasy pull-up, but man.
Let's jump into the episode breakdown. So this is episode 3, Cross the Border. Cross the Border is the name of it. So we start off with the recap, as we were just talking about there, which covers Chavo's heel turn last week and the arrival of Mil Muertes as well. We get our first scene in Dario's office, which is with Conan, where he announces that he brought 3 luchadors from Mexico, talking about Drago, Phoenix, and Pentagon, and they hype up how good they are, and Dario is pumped, and the main event is announced. It's going to be Phoenix, Drago, and Pentagon in a triple threat match.
For me, this was the perfect way to open up the show. But that was just personally because I'm biased for Penta and Phoenix. So when their names were the first thing announced in the episode, it was really like just a jaw-dropping moment for me. It was like, oh shit, they're here.
So when I watched this for the first time, those names meant absolutely nothing to me whatsoever. I'd never heard Pentagon, I'd never heard Phoenix, I'd never heard Drago. And yeah, like I would go on to love these characters and love these wrestlers, but this was my introduction to all 3 of these guys. So this match definitely holds a special place in my heart, that's for sure.
Yeah, I really love this match, and the main event, as I said before, favorite match of the entire series, and I think it's going to take a really, really good match. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get a match that good on Lucha Underground for a while, because that was a masterpiece.
Yeah, okay. We'll
give
it a couple of weeks. We'll get it a couple of weeks and see. Oh, dude, like every single week there is like the craziest shit happening.
Is it like one of those shows where like every week is the best fucking episode?
Like, put it this way, if they would film these things in advance. If you tried to like book this and actually do this week to week, like these dudes would be friggin' dead. Like they go hard. They go hard.
All right.
But we then get Dario come out to the ring with El Mariachi Loco. We'll talk about him in a sec. Dario's talking about there's critics that are saying there's not enough lucha. And then he says, quite possibly my favorite saying, and I'm going to splice this into the opening of the show. You want lucha? I've got lucha for you.
Dario is my favorite personality in the whole show so far. Like, he's really starting to grow on me. Like, he's such an easy villain to hate, but that's why I love him. He's an evil prick, but he enjoys what he's doing so much. You're drawn to everything about him, especially on the mic. Every word that comes out of his mouth.
He's so charismatic. Yeah. He's so charismatic in this role. Like, it's just ridiculous. You can tell
he's having so much fun with it too.
Yeah, you can. It's great, and again, this is his first. This would have been his first taping. That would have been, I think that's his second or third promo in front of an audience, and the audience tried to like take over because they were chanting "Play the song" to El Mariachi Loco, and you don't know how much editing goes into this stuff. Like, for all we know, somebody popped up out of the production area and was like, all right, audience, like, give us a second to like reset the promo or whatever like that. But I don't think that's what happens. I think he handled himself pretty well. But yeah, we got to meet El Mariachi Loco. Found him up the street at a Mexican restaurant, apparently.
What a great backstory. That was so detailed compared to, everyone else gets like a comic book backstory. His backstory is, it's just down the road.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's why when we do our what if they were segments, like, it could be anything. Like, is someone going to be El Mariachi Loco's housemate or something? Like, I don't know. But we'll get to the what if they were at the end of the show. It's going to be fun. But yeah, we get him in a match against Masquerada Sagrada. So Mariachi Loco is obviously just a bit of a comedy jobber. I remember him coming back later. I think his mask changes slightly. But yeah, Masquerada Sagrada. What were your thoughts when he came down the steps?
I was actually really excited to watch him in the ring. I really love the mini style of wrestling. I've seen it before from. I'm not sure if it's the traditional lucha style, but it was the minis who were wrestling on WWF in '97, and they had a few really good matches at the end of the year. I can't remember the names of the wrestlers. I remember a lot of tag. Yep, Max Mini. There was a lot of tag team matches. There was one at Bad Blood. I remember. I really enjoyed all of those matches. And
the minis were a pretty big deal. Like, they're definitely an attraction, and WWE had a weird working relationship with like AAA or somebody, a CMLL maybe, like in the late 90s, that mid to late 90 period there. I remember Mil Mascaras was in a Royal Rumble, and I believe the story is that he didn't want to let anyone eliminate him. And that was the deal. He'd come and do the Royal Rumble, but he didn't want anyone to eliminate him, so they arranged for him to like eliminate himself by jumping over the top rope or something like that. It was some weird, like, it was he apparently has a horrible ego, but it was some weird sort of request like that. But that was around that time when, yes, and they were authentic Mexican minis that were would have been doing stuff in AAA. So yeah, you've absolutely had a taste of that.
Right. So I enjoyed it back then when I watched it, and I really enjoyed it in this match now. And Masquerada and El Mariachi Loco worked off each other so perfectly in this match. Like, they had a few really great comedy spots, like the spot where he was holding his hand up and Masquerada was like trying to jump and grab it. Like, that fucking killed me. And they had their comedy spots, but the wrestling was really on point. Like, it was just a fun match to watch between the two guys and watch the two styles together mesh.
Well, Sagrada is 50 years old at the time of recording of that show. Yeah, he's 58 now or something like that, whatever the difference is. So he's been around since the 80s. And he's one of the, if not the most legendary mini, of all time, certainly of the later generation. I don't know if there was somebody prior to him, but he's a big deal. Like he is known. Everybody there would have grown up on that wrestler and that character. So Masquerada Sagrada being in Lucha Underground was probably something that went under the radar as far as how significant it was with his contribution to Lucha Libre over the years. And in regards to that, comedy is a huge part of Lucha Libre. Like there are specific promotions out there that will have very much comedy matches. Like you think of things like Orange Cassidy, or I don't know if you saw the clip from years ago with Chuck Taylor, who's in AEW now, with a invisible hand grenade.
No, I haven't seen that one. No.
He like mimes that he has a hand grenade, and he like pulls the pin out, and then he like grabs his opponent's trunks out and like chucks it down the back. But then like the opponent like takes a big massive bump, but there was like some sort of battle royal, and everybody else in the ring took a bump as well. So
God,
it was this big visual that everybody got wiped out by this friggin' invisible hand grenade. It was like his indie finisher for years.
What show was this?
Oh, this was like indie wrestling, like weird shit.
Right.
Like you can find it on
WWE.
YouTube. That's about it. No. This is Chuck Taylor, who's only just been in AEW since it started. That's his first main, big role on any kind of TV show in the States. But that kind of comedy is synonymous with Lucha Libre. So characters like Masquerada Sagrada are as crucial to the history of Lucha Libre as, Santos or El Santos, I think his name is, or Blue Demon or the Guerreros and things like that. Masquerada Sagrada win with a small package, which is a nice little pun, and Chavo Guerrero attacking Masquerada after the match, beating him down, which led into the Chavo pre-tape interview with Vampiro. This is very unique. This was highly edited. There were sound effects in the background. There was like music playing. Really well put together and perfect for the feel of what Lucha Underground is. They don't have to have a unedited, emotional kind of like back and forth. They can chop it up into this kind of highlight reel and really get the point across like that. But what did you enjoy, or was there anything you noticed in particular about this backstage pre-tape with Vampiro and
Personally,
Chavo?
I wasn't a fan of the interview, and the reason why, for me personally, is I don't... It had a really different editing style to the other segments, and I didn't like that. Like, everything else is filmed like a TV show, like a HBO TV show, and then we cut to the interview, and it seemed like it was filmed and edited like a MasterChef interview. Like, it was a totally different dynamic to the other stuff, and it kind of took me out of it. Like, it was a cool interview, don't get me wrong, and I really liked hearing what Chavo had to say, finally. I've been waiting for just Chavo to finally just let loose and speak from the heart, But I think it could have been a lot better if they just done it in the TV show style, and they recorded it, and it was acted, and they had like cooler shots, and they didn't need to over edit it so much. Like, it just looks like something straight out of MasterChef. It was odd.
See, and I don't know, I feel like it's not supposed to be, because it's not in continuity with the episode, because Vampiro is wearing different clothes, so it feels like it is something that was filmed and is being presented as like, alright, Lucha Underground, we have a TV show, this is how Dario Cueto's temple would produce an interview, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see it in that way.
Like, it's and I guess I don't want to say too much, but we're going to see more like television bending moments in this show as well. Like, it likes to remind you that it's a TV show at times. Like, that you're not that it's a TV show, but that you're watching like a presentation from Dario Cueto, I guess.
Yeah, I can kind of see it like that. Like, if it's something like just how Lucha Underground, if it's more just in the continuity of the show, how Lucha Underground would just show like an interview that they've recorded, right? I can see it like that.
Yeah.
I'd probably find it more entertaining the other way, but
yeah,
I'm still like really excited to see what the TV aspect of Lucha Underground is going to become, because you've hyped up so many things of Lucha Underground to me, and the big, crazy TV moments is what I'm waiting for, what I really want to see.
We will get plenty of moments, don't you worry. But
how close are we today? Do you think? Because we're episode 3 now, so how many?
There's heaps. Like you could go and pick like any episode of this, and be like, fuck yeah, that's right. Like there's an episode that comes up where it's a gauntlet match. It's one person has to go through like a gauntlet. Like that is a huge moment in itself. Like there is a I Quit match that stands out. The people who've seen this show know exactly which one I'm talking about. That was a huge moment. Like and these are things that you forget about when you finish watching it. But then when you see it, you're like, oh my god, that's right. This was like amazing. Like which again, that's the whole point of doing this show, is because watching this show episode to episode is a television journey. But anyway, we got Chavo bumping into Conan in the hallway outside Dario's office. Conan says, La Raza and Mexico found out what you did to Blue Demon and Masquerada. The streets are talking. They are coming. So an ominous warning from Conan to Chavo. Any thoughts on what Conan's talking about there, or the vibe and the feel of that little exchange?
To be honest, no idea who or what Conan is talking about, but just the thought of Chavo being under the pressure of like people coming after him is really cool storytelling, and I want to see how that develops in the episode.
We're gonna find out who or what Mexico is, but yeah, as I mentioned before, the Lucha Libre history with Blue Demon and Masquerada, Chavo's now taken him out. That's angered people down in Mexico, and they're going to come for him, which I love that. That's like Breaking Bad type of storyline. Like, hey, you fucked up the wrong person. Now, bad dudes are coming for your ass.
Yeah.
You better be ready.
And I want to see just like Chavo all like paranoid as shit, like constantly now checking. I'm sure that's like I'm guessing that's what the next episode is going to be. Just him constantly looking over his shoulder.
And I like the whole fact that they're talking about it's like Mexico, like it's the people down in Mexico. They take exception to you offending their culture and offending these legends the way you did, which I think is a great angle to take. But we also had Chavo turn around and bam, Mil Muertes staring him down like a friggin' ghost.
Yeah,
just appears out of nowhere.
Honestly, I thought that was kind of corny. It was like a really corny like jump scare to me. Like it kind of felt like something WWE would do with the Undertaker when I first saw it.
You might be right on that, and I think a lot of the Mil Muertes Katrina stuff might draw different opinions from people. But speaking of Katrina, bam, Katrina appears out of nowhere as well. It's right in front of Chavo's face. And she tells Chavo, Mil Muertes never forgets, in reference to Chavo beating down Blue Demon, which is actually what Mil was trying to do when Chavo came out. So now Chavo's got Mil Muertes looking for him as well. So yeah, Chavo's not making any friends in Lucha Underground, that's for sure.
Yeah, he's legit just had the worst fucking run so far. He loses his first match, gets berated by his boss, acts like a dick for 2 episodes, and now everyone's after him. Yeah.
Beats the shit out of Sexy Star. Yeah, he's having a bit of a rough run there, old Chavo is, but
yeah.
But we'll have to wait. He just got the lick of death from Katrina, so it's not all bad. The next match was Mil Muertes versus Ricky Mandel. I don't know if we ever see Ricky Mandel again, and Mil hits the flatliner for the win, which I was conflicted on that being his finisher, but I think I've warmed to it enough over the seasons. But we started with a vignette for Mil that gives some context to his backstory and what that strange rock is that Katrina carries to the ring with him. What did you think about the Pascual Mendoza story of young Mil Muertes?
This is what I love about Lucha Underground. This right here is the comic book shit that I love. It is a full comic book villain backstory of him just coming out of the rubble and everyone's around him's dead and he's just by himself, just coming out. It was such a cool story, and I loved the shots, and I loved that, especially the transition from when the boy's holding the rock and then to Mil Muertes then holding the rock was just so dope. I love that. It was like something straight out of Batman or something. So it got me really excited to see the match.
It feels like Bane's origin.
Yeah,
in a way, like
yeah.
In the prison and all that stuff.
Yeah, and even if they're taking like influence from that kind of thing, I don't mind, because it is one of the most entertaining shows I've seen for this stuff right here.
Well, and again, without spoiling anything, there is something from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that I think we see a version of in the later seasons. But we'll jump onto the Mill vignette, because
I'm hoping for Luchador Spider-Man.
El Arachno, thank you very much.
That exists?
I've got a Funko Pop Luchador Spider-Man called El Arachno.
Oh yeah, my work sells those, but I didn't know if he was like a real wrestler. Like for a second, I thought you were saying like that was a real wrestler. I was like, what?
You know what? Speaking of Lucha Libre, they have a rich history of just getting superhero costumes made up and then just saying that the superheroes are wrestling. Like, I've seen... Dude, there is one... It's the X-Men. It's like Wolverine, Cyclops, and... I can't remember who the third one was, and they might have been fighting the Ninja Turtles, but it was like full-blown Lucha Libre. These guys in these full like spandex suits, and it was like yellow. It was like yellow and blue X-Men. Like, it looks hilarious. Like, and that's a rich tradition of Lucha Libre, because you see it all the friggin' time. Spider-Man knockoffs galore, everywhere.
One night I need to get really drunk and just binge watch a whole bunch of like superhero luchador videos.
Oh man, it's good times. But the vignette says, "Death is a debt that we all must pay. Mil Muertes knows this better than anyone." And Katrina says, on September 18, 1985, an 8.1 magnitude earthquake shocked Mexico City. This is true. That actually happened. Around 10,000 people died in that earthquake on September 18, 1985. So they've well and truly, dipped into history to, link this up with the real world, which I appreciate that. But they go on to talk about Mill's family dies, and 7-year-old Mill is in the darkness buried. He didn't feel fear, he felt comfort, and when he emerged, he brought death with him. Coldness and death give him strength.
He was born in the darkness.
He was born in the darkness. So Mill is like a Undertaker cross Bane kind of character.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. And that may have been what somebody said. Make me a character that's crossed between Undertaker and Bane. Alright. Like, this is what we get with Mil Muertes. But it's awesome. I'm with you. I absolutely love the whole elaborate backstory with the building collapsing, and that's his motivation. Like, it kind of comes across as like an Undertaker knockoff, but they've done it in such a unique and awesome way that it really stands on its own as well. So Mil Muertes is going to be around for a long time. He is one of the main, characters in Lucha Underground, and his intro is just frigging epic.
Yeah, and that's good to hear too, because so far Mil has become another one of my favorite wrestlers as well, just for his in-ring strength and just
he carries his strength and weight very well.
He ragdolls people like, holy shit.
Yeah, and he does have the benefit of most of the roster is actually quite small, but like I say, for somebody who he's big, but he's not like, if you stood him next to Triple H, like he'd probably come up to his shoulder kind of thing. He still has that massive kind of presence, and there are a lot of other guys in Lucha Underground we're going to meet that could fit that description as well. Right.
Yeah, but everyone on Lucha Underground, if they're like tall, they're really, really tall on Lucha Underground. Like,
it's ridiculous. So you're definitely going to see some of the scale of certain people. But Katrina gives old mate the lick of death, and that's the end for Ricky Mandel. He's done. We then get Johnny Mundo in the hallway meeting up with the crew. He beats the hell out of them with his classic 80s action line of, "I got your password," before he kicks the shit out of him, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments too.
He's definitely like Johnny Hollywood in this. It's amazing that they could have gone a lot further with like the cheesy 80s action movie star. Who knows? It might have been even more entertaining, to be completely honest. But he's pretty good in this role as the the leading man and the hero, I guess. But he busts into Dario's office and demands a match with Big Rick. Says, "If you give me Rick, I'll give you violence." Dario agrees, and we get that match next week. And he says, "By the way, when I'm done with Rick, you're next." And Dario shits his pants.
Yeah, that whole scene was fucking badass. Like, the walk up to Cisco and Cortez, and then when it was like, you're right, it's just like an 80s action movie. But that's exactly what I love. With this show, you can just suspend your disbelief and enjoy it for the entertainment it is. And it's super cheesy, don't get me wrong. Like, it's not the best action movie in the world, but when you're watching it, it's so entertaining, you can't help but just have a smile on your face. And when he walks into Dario's office and he turned around and said, "After Big Rick, you're next." And I saw that look in Dario's eye. That's when I knew this is going to be a storyline I'm going to have to look out for, because I could just see the fear in Dario's eyes. Like, he made his decision to give Big Rick to him, and now he can't back out of that.
Yeah, that's it. Well, the next thing we see is Big Rick getting paid to fight Mundo next week. And he says next week Johnny goes to the hospital. Dario says next week Johnny goes to the hospital, and Rick laughs. So Big Rick is definitely cashing in on Dario. And Dario's a terrible negotiator. He's like, "I'll pay you whatever you want. I'll write you a check."
The worst.
Meanwhile, he just handed Rick, like, I don't know, 10 grand or whatever it was. So yeah, that was an interesting exchange. The next part was the Prince Puma vignette. So they're putting a lot of screen time into building up Prince Puma. He's not on the show this week, but we still get the vignette talking about him doing this for his ancestors who died fighting for his tribe. And just more character building for Prince Puma, and really making it clear in the audience's mind that this is the guy. This is the one who's just about to hit his peak. This is the guy who's, the planets have aligned, basically.
It was alright for me. I wasn't too gripped by it, because it really just felt like the same thing we've seen for the past two episodes. With Prince Puma. I would have just preferred if they had Puma in the episode in some sort of way, whether it was just even him in a segment or an interview or something like that.
Chilling out.
Yeah.
Like chilling out backstage or something, yeah. We now get the main event introduced by the lovely Melissa Santos, Pentagon, Drago, and Phoenix in a triple threat. So let's have a quick chat about Drago, first of all. So he's an incredible luchador. Honestly, in my opinion, he's up there with Phoenix as, some of the best luchadors out there today. I don't think he's quite as polished as Phoenix, and I think he has a couple of bad matches over the Lucha Underground seasons, but Drago is one of those characters that we're going to find out a lot more about his character and what's going on with that particular person. But Drago is an unbelievable talent. He's one of my favorites.
I haven't seen anything of him before this match, but he's already become one of my favorites as well. I love his look. I loved everything he did in ring. And that's all I know about him is he had his entrance and he had his match. But that was enough to sell me, like, as one of my favorites.
Yeah, we're going to get a much more interesting storylines with Drago, but obviously we've got Phoenix in there, who, again, in Lucha Underground, in AEW, everywhere I've seen him in between, he's got to be the best luchador. He's got to be the best luchador in the world today. I mean, it's been Rey Mysterio for a long time, but Phoenix, I mean, whatever you see in AEW is very impressive, but what you're going to see here in Lucha Underground is going to make your fucking head spin. Like, he is, as much as it pains me to say because I love Penta so much, but Phoenix is, you know, the new generation.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Like, he blew our mind this match. Like, the spot where he got up on the balcony and jumped off, like, I was kind of looking away from the match for a second because, you know, I watch the match, sometimes I'll just look away, check time on my phone or something. I saw him get up on the balcony and I just put everything down, I looked at it and my jaw dropped. It was, you're right, my head did spin. I'm pretty sure it literally span off my body and then I had to reattach it.
Oh, he's jumping off of Dario's office, and like I say, we're going to see plenty of people jumping off that office. That apparently appears to be the perfect height to jump off of. But and then we get Pentagon. This is kind of an old school look for Pentagon with it kind of looks like a karate attire. This is very traditional Pentagon attire with the white. The white kind of almost like a Mortal Kombat sort of Sub-Zero Scorpion thing on his body that he's wearing, like that look with the flap down the bottom. And this is like, Pentagon will change up his look pretty quick after this, but this is very akin to the original Pentagon. So it was a very different look. But I mean, if you take a look at Pentagon, he looks different. He looks terrifying. He looks cool. He looks awesome. Like, it's just amazing how they've managed to put all these different things into this person's look and his vibe and everything like that, and it all just works perfectly together. Like, very rarely can you get somebody that can blend contemporary and traditional in such a awesome and authentic kind of way.
Yeah, I gotta agree with you on that as well. And that's why Penta and Phoenix, probably my favorite tag team in the world right now. You know, Phoenix is just really polished. Fucking, both of them are really just polished athletes. I love them as a fucking tag team. And, you know, Penta's outfit in this, one of my favorites I've actually seen. I think it might be one of my favorites. And I hadn't seen what the Octagon outfit looks like. I've never seen that. But if it's similar to that, I'll have a look at like what the old one looks like after we finish this up. I'll Google images it.
The old Pentagon mask, like, I don't know if you can sort of picture the design around the eye holes of Pentagon's mask. Like, they're kind of, it looks kind of like Spider-Man shape, but then there's also like a little bit of a hook that kind of comes off of that sort of outline of the eyes. The original Pentagon mask had that exact same thing. So there's still a huge influence from the old mask in the new one with pay attention to the eyes. You'll see there's always this same design that surrounds the eyes. That's similar to the old Pentagon mask. So there is definitely a continuing thing. And it was a very specific look as well. But compared to today, like, he's really taken that just to the next level with all the different, you know, outfits and attires that Pentagon is bringing up in AEW. I can't wait for him to dress up like Cobra Commander.
Yeah.
Which apparently is hopefully coming. I'm keen as for that.
He's so versatile with everything he does, with every different outfit and style he takes with his character. It's so much fun to watch because you're always getting something new. Like, if you don't like one version of Penta, there's going to be a new version a few months later. He's going to have a new fit, some cool new look.
Remember those words. Anyway, moving right along. The match was just a big spot fest, more or less. Like, It was just so many dives. Like, it was very much just a big introduction of all three of them. We had Phoenix winning with the reverse Hurricanrana on Penta, which was, compared to what you see them do these days, seemed like a pretty tame finish. But I hope, rewatching Lucha Underground, I can recalibrate to what moves mean more than they probably do these days.
Yeah, so is it like, so the finishes in like Lucha Underground, they're more just like Hurricane Ranas and that kind of move? More like athletic moves to finish off the matches? Is it like that kind of thing in a lucha style?
No, there's different people have the different kind of finishes, but I think we do see a lot more matches end with medium level moves.
Yeah, and
like
that's something
in WWE. In WWE, it feels like a match either ends with a finisher or it ends with like some bullshit like roll up finish that doesn't make any sense. With this, we get those, but we also get like, hey, this guy just got caught bad with that kick, and that kind of stuff. So we're going to see matches have some more unpredictable kind of finishes, and this is probably a perfect example of that.
And that style of finisher too was actually kind of confusing me with the El Mariachi Loco match, because when he got like in that submission and it was that just quick 1, 2, 3 pin-up submission kind of thing, it was just a really quick finisher and it caught my eye and I was like, what? Because I was really enjoying the match, and then it got to that part and I was like, wait, that was it? Because I was expecting some big finisher.
I think with that one specifically, El Mariachi Loco, I think there was a bit of a joke about him winning with a small package. I think that was kind of written into the script kind of thing. Like,
yeah.
Okay, and he wins with a small package. Commentators, you can riff on that kind of thing. But it was also, he's kind of a unique case because he's a mini and he's wrestling a full-size guy. So I kind of understand that in those kind of matchups that the finish is a little bit more, it might be a roll-up or, some kind of, pinfall combination of some type. But
yeah,
the reverse Hurricanrana was insane though. Like that looks so brutal. Like he looked like he just spiked Pentagon completely on his head. And Phoenix again diving off of Dario's office is not the last time we're going to see Phoenix do something like that. You can have my word on that. So that was the end of the in-ring segment. We had a segment over the credits at the end with Dario Cueto in some sort of dark room with like prison bars, and he's talking about, I will not be intimidated by anyone, not even you, as he looks into the prison bars and strokes the key around his neck. And the episode is finished. What did you think about the final scene with Dario, his key, and the prison bars?
Always a dope cliffhanger in this show. And I want to see what happens in the next episode, who the prisoner is, where he even is. Is this like a prison in the Lucha Underground facility? Is he out of prison? What is going on here?
You must refer to it as the temple.
The temple, sorry.
It is the temple. Thank you very much. You've finally been baptized into Lucha Underground fandom properly. I believe it is somewhere in the temple. Yes, like underground or some double underground. DOS Underground, how about that? So I know exactly where that's leading, and I'm very keen for you to go through that journey because the key around his neck and that whole storyline was one of my favorites. So yes, enjoy that indeed.
Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to see what that's like.
So that was episode 3, Cross the Border. Yeah, I can understand that this wasn't your favorite episode. The Puma promo was very repetitive, and we got the main event, but it was kind of still introducing a lot. It didn't follow a lot of the storyline other than the Chavo Guerrero stuff. Was pretty much the only story. Chavo and Johnny were pretty much the only stories that got followed up this week. But we got 3 massive debuts, so
yeah,
that was fun.
And it's only the 3rd episode too, so I'm not too harsh on it. Like, I didn't like it as much as 1 and 2, but it's not to say it's a bad episode, because Lucha Underground, for the most part, even if I don't like the episode, is still marginally better than a lot of other TV shows, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it feels a lot easier to watch. If you get an episode, and there are a few episodes on here that, didn't really reach out to me, or a few matches that got a little bit boring, like anything else, it's going to happen, but the good thing about it is you don't feel like you've betrayed yourself by spending 3 hours watching it by the end. Even if it's a bad episode, 40 minutes, that's fine. Like, all right, we'll see what happens next week. And honestly, they come through with the goods so much more often than not. So, yeah, we've got a fun journey ahead of us. But that is the review for episode 3. So let's wrap it up with the Where Are They Now and the What If They Were segments. So these are the segments we do at the end of each episode where we have a look at where is somebody from Lucha Underground these days, and what if they were is when we fantasy book somebody into the Lucha Underground universe that was never in there. So starting with Where Are They Now? This week I wanted to talk about Conan. Now, I know you haven't had a lot of experience with Conan, but same with all these guys we've been talking about. As much as I was going to say El Mariachi Loco, I don't mean him. Masquerada Sagrada, Blue Demon, Chavo Guerrero, Conan is just as important to the history of Lucha Libre. He has a podcast called Keeping It 100 with Conan. I believe he has Disco Inferno on there as his co-host.
Yeah, I think it was Disco Inferno, and then I think sometimes he's got like a third with him, like not a guest.
I'm trying to think of who it is.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I think it's somebody else from WCW.
Yeah, it's someone else from WCW, but I can't remember who. It's all late 90s WCW guys there.
Yeah. I don't know if that person's still on there. And in fact, it looks like Conan does most of the stuff through his Patreon. But if you want to follow him, he's at Conan5150. Speaking of 5150, he's also currently mentoring on screen and I presume off screen as well, the tag team 5150 in MLW. In fact, they popped up on MLW Azteca, a little teaser trailer with Dario Cueto, or Cesar Duran as he's known as now, 5150, 5150, whatever they're called, were there with Conan as well. So the Lucha Underground life is very much alive and well in MLW with MLW Azteca. And Conan being there as well definitely adds to it. And he pops up on AEW from time to time. He helped out Santana and Ortiz in their feud with FTR. So Conan definitely still involved in the world of wrestling in a number of ways. But any thoughts about Conan in general? I know we kind of talked about him last week, but anything to do with Conan that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so Conan, I've seen his work in AEW. And I've always liked what AEW's done with the older guys, where they kind of bring them in as advisories to the younger guys. And I think that's actually a really good way, because if you get someone who isn't going to be wrestling, have them build up the younger wrestlers. How much of a fan of Conan were you before you started watching Lucha Underground? I know you were like big into WCW. So were you a fan of Conan back then and what he did back in the 90s?
Honestly, I liked Conan at times when he was in WCW, especially when he was in the Wolfpack and after that as a part of the Filthy Animals. But he never really jumped off the page as like one of my favorites. He was always cool, but I didn't like really get excited for him like I did for Rey Mysterio or Billy Kidman or, Scott Steiner and DDP. Like, it wasn't the same kind of fandom, but I always appreciated him being on there. I never was like, oh god, Conan. Like, he was always an entertaining performer in WCW, and he's been a great character since then. So longevity-wise, I think Conan's had a pretty solid career.
Yeah, and I gotta agree with you. Like, that's exactly how I feel about Conan. Like, he's never really jumped out the page as my favorite, but he's always been entertaining. And as I'm going through WCW as well, because I am going through WCW and Lucha Underground at the same time, I'm really excited to see what he does in Wolfpack, because I'm just a few episodes away from the Wolfpack forming. And yeah, I'm sure Conan would be fun to watch in that.
The Wolfpack was very cool, but the Wolfpack was also a very fucking bizarre group of people.
Really?
Like, they all acted like homie G's, and they're doing like the Too Sweet side and all that, but it was like Kevin Nash, alright, he's pretty cool. And then you got, like, he was cool, man. He used to wear the bandanas backwards, and he was using, like, hip-hop slang and shit back before anybody else was. Like, Kevin Nash was cool. You got K-Dog, he was really fucking cool. Like, they both had that same kind of vibe. But then after that, it was like Macho Man Randy Savage, who was like nearly 50. Lex Luger, who has about the personality of a fucking dish mob. And then you got Sting, who said he'd never be in the NWO, and then joins the Wolfpack, paints his face red instead, starts like acting like old gangster and shit, and
it was God, I gotta see that.
It was just like, what the fuck is happening here? Like, they end up adding more people to it. Disco Inferno's in the Wolfpack for a while. It was people. I don't think people truly look back on the NWO Wolfpack and realize what a fucking random group of motherfuckers that faction was. So
I didn't even.
You've got that to look forward to.
Yeah, I didn't even know the roster was like that crazy. I didn't know Sting was a part of it or nothing like that.
Put it this way, those guys I said, that might have been the active roster for like a couple of weeks at some point, and then it was just always changing. It was so fucking weird, but
as the NWO
love the Wolfpack. Yeah, those are great t-shirts anyway. Great shirts. Anyway, what if they were? So this week, this is the segment where we have a look at somebody who never competed in Lucha Underground, try and think of some sort of crazy storyline or character that they could have if they were introduced. And Malik, do you have one for us this week?
So the what if they were for this week is Mortis. So what I see is, because he's got the Mortal Kombat influence, and the whole thing about Mortal Kombat is violence. What would be cool is to see Mortis come into Lucha Underground with Father James Mitchell by his side, of course. And he's going to have this reputation built up for a few weeks. You know, he's the most violent wrestler who's going to be coming to Lucha Underground. There's no one like him. He's going to be hospitalizing people, like... And they're gonna like hype it up as like, this dude like is a serious threat. Like, you guys better watch out. But because Mortis just cares for himself and violence, he doesn't really care to follow Dario or anyone else really apart from him and Father James Mitchell. He just goes eliminating the entire roster, trying to just hospitalize as many people as possible. And eventually Dario, the heels, the faces, everyone has to pair together to stop this guy, because Mortis is going to tear down Lucha Underground because he's a power too strong for the temple.
Yeah, and as we mentioned before with Mil Muertes, like, he's not an overly big guy, but he seems massive in the context of Lucha Underground. Mortis and Chris Kanyon was a big bloke. Like, he would look like goddamn Kane. Like, that would be such an imposing physical force. Like, any of those WCW guys or WWF guys, if you just pop them in Lucha Underground, you'd realize, whoa, what in the steroids is going on there? Like, you can just realize, like, shit just isn't fucking natural.
Yeah, and there could even be like a cool moment, like have Mil Muertes versus Mortis, where Muertes is standing in the ring, and then Mortis just stands right up to him, and you can see like the big size difference between them, and you can see like Mortis looking down. That would be such a cool shot.
It'd be Undertaker and Great Khali all over again. And but the thing is, like, I like Father James Mitchell being a part of that, and I'd love to see him have some history with Dario, and maybe he is trying to like stop Mortis from, you know, going with Dario because he, you know, resents Dario. They have some history, like maybe Father James Mitchell knows Dario's old man or something like that. Like, I don't know. We could tie in Dario into some creepy way with Father James Mitchell, and that adds to the complexity of Dario and Mortis's potential relationship, I guess.
Yeah, like even something like, you know, Dario could have had Father James Mitchell's, one of his family members, like his dad or something, in like a really shitty business deal that cost him and his family a lot of money. And Dario's not aware that, you know, Father James is related to whoever he screwed over, because he screws over so many people. He doesn't care. He doesn't even remember them. So then
the old days of our life twist, huh?
Yeah, so then Father James comes back with Mortis to just basically wreak havoc on the temple to get his revenge.
Yeah, I'd be down with that. I think Mortis would be a great fit. Maybe Mortis is in the jail cell. Maybe that's what's going on with Dario and being down there. Maybe he's talking to Mortis.
Yeah, that would be terrifying if they just had Mortis down there just waiting to be unlocked from his cage.
Well, that sounds fucking awesome. I would love to see Mortis in Lucha Underground. And that is going to do it for episode 3 of Back to the Temple. This has been a lot of fun. This episode was called Cross the Border. I just want to thank Malik for joining me on this one and going through this episode and talking about the debut of Penta and Phoenix and Drago and Dario and all the goings on and bloody Conan and Mortis. It's been quite an episode. But Malik, is there anything you want to part with? Any social media you want to plug?
You can check out our socials at Back to the Temple on Twitter.
Malik, you had one job, mate.
Yeah, fuck, I keep fucking up the Twitter one. Alright.
It's fine. No, it's fine. It's fine. I'm not cutting it out. It's at Back to the Temple on Twitter. Go follow us there. Share us a tweet and go check out the last episodes if you haven't listened to them already. And as always, everyone, be well, stay safe, look after your friends. I'll see you on the next fucking podcast. Peace out, Malik.
Peace.